Guten Nachmittag, München. Freue mich sehr, heute hier zu sein. And for those of you who didn't get that, I will now continue in English. So, a few strategy experiments in Ericsson 3G, that's the topic, and I think we will see the connections with a lot of the other stuff you heard today and you will hear tomorrow. So this is a short summary of what I will be talking about. So we've been on the journey, lean, agile transformation journey since 2010, and of course that had some implications on the way we do strategy. So on the side here, you see strategy feedback loop taking years. That's where we started. Moving in small steps, in small experiments, towards a more continuous execution and fine-tuning and feedback in our way of doing strategy and devising strategy. Who am I? Well, this is a team, it's not Chelsea. It's the Ericsson company team in Stockholm. And you know, the best goalkeepers tend to go to Bayern München, but I got to go to Lean Kanban Central Europe in München. Apart from that, I do some stuff in Ericsson, serving a number of cross-functional development teams, trying to create the conditions where individuals, teams, and even organizations thrive and grow. Time for a commercial break. So if you don't like commercials, then you can leave for 30 seconds and come back. I try to make it brief. So Ericsson 3G, we're in the number one when it comes to 3G traffic. 265 networks all across the globe. 40% of all the tweets and all the LinkedIn stuff and all the voice calls that we do in mobile networks run through Ericsson systems. About our product development unit, some 1,800 people, 100-something teams, and 10 sites, primarily in Sweden, Poland, and China. So this is pretty large scale we're talking here. Then about Ericsson, we have this vision, and we heard earlier about the connected society or all the connected devices. So our vision is a network society where every person and every industry is empowered to reach his or her full potential. So we're talking about, you know, mega cities in Asia, schools in Africa, individuals, companies. Everyone should have the opportunity to be connected and reach their full potential. So that's what it's all about. So that's the end of the commercial break. Start with a why. That's always good, right? Why strategy? Isn't it enough if we're just, you know, we're being agile or we're doing enterprise service planning kind of things? Isn't that enough? I say no. Let's look at 4 important dimensions here. Market-wise, you want to have success, and the market is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You want to win the hearts and minds in this market. What else? Customers, of course, customer delight, with the expected as well as the surprisingly good stuff, the awesome stuff. Customer delight through that, and serving the customer's true needs, their real needs, getting their jobs done, and done. That's what we want, right? Company-wise, of course, we all know the limitations, and we want to handle those limitations. We don't have unlimited time, we don't have unlimited equipment, we don't have unlimited competence, we don't have unlimited people. So we need somehow to handle that. Employee-wise, know and influence the direction in order to act and decide with speed. Extremely important. Competitor-wise, well, of course, we want to have sustainable, and the keyword here is sustainable, competitive advantage for Ericsson. So this is my sort of working definition of, or working assumption when it comes to why we need strategy. Make sense? I see some nods, great. What is strategy? Now I want you to interact. Find a partner here next to you and discuss for 2 minutes in pairs. What is strategy? 2 minutes, starting now. Don't worry, this is just a trick to make you be ready for the message. And that's the end of the 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Someone who would like to share some findings or insights. What is strategy? Who would like to share something? Possible way to achieve your goal. I like that. It's like a possible, some choices and some possibilities. It's not totally certain. It's not like a plan, right? Yeah, cool, thanks. Yes, Matthias. Situation awareness. Yeah, that's pretty important. Something else? Yes, at the back. A bit more long term, okay, cool. And finally? Some kind of boundaries, yeah, that you can sort of focus, perhaps even. Cool. Yeah, let's see. So you will hear more about this guy tomorrow in Chet Richards' keynote. This is John Boyd. Famous strategist, probably the most famous strategist in the 20th century. And this is his definition. I'll walk you through it. Mental tapestry, changing intentions. Harmonizing, focusing our efforts. Basis for realizing some aim or purpose. Unfolding, unforeseen world, bewildering events, many contending interests. So I try to highlight the important stuff in blue here. Changing intention is about change. Focus, very important. Purpose, very important. Unfolding, bewildering events. Well, that's the whole volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world that we all live in, right? So I think this is pretty good, and it sounds pretty agile, right? And Boyd even talked about this as agility, strategic agility. So when Chet Richards in his 20 by 20 said things about how or rather, Marcus' introduction said that a lot of the stuff that John Boyd has been talking about is sort of the foundation, even though we don't know that in the Agile and Lean and Kanban communities. I think this is pretty true. Okay, moving on. How do you do strategy? Now it gets interesting, right? Let's see. Who knows this guy? Who is he? It's Jack Welch, the most famous CEO of the 20th century. Let's hear what he had to say. Well, in real life, it's really simple. Just pick a general direction and implement like hell. General direction, implement like hell. You agree? Is it that simple? Actually, he was really inspired by Boyd and others. So I think the key thing here is the general direction. How do you pick that? How do you choose that general direction? Then, of course, it's a lot about making things happen, of course. Okay. Oh, we got Dr. Deming on the call here. Dr. Deming, what do you have to say? You sound a bit upset. I have only 3 words for you. By what method? Reminding Jack that, there has to be some method to the madness, right? Some kind of lightweight structure is always good. So thanks for reminding us, Dr. Deming. Ooh, Dr. Evil, we have a 3-party call. What's on your mind, Dr. Evil? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The strategy is top secret. Just do what I tell you. Does this sound familiar? Any of you worked in, medium or large size companies that, just do it? Implement like hell? I think this is an important reminder about trust and collaboration, primarily between the business side of things and R&D. It's so important that we have the trust and we have the collaboration in particularly when we work with strategy, in order to, prepare the strategy and deploy the strategy and make it happen. So important. So don't go there. Don't follow Dr. Evil. Coming to the first experiment that I'd like to share with you, and going back to 2010, making Dr. Deming proud, we found a, reasonably lightweight structured process. It's from Willie Peterson. It's called strategic learning. Unfortunately, we forgot about the learning part when we started, but I'll tell you more about that. So, you do a situational analysis. Start with, learn about what's current situation. Then you focus. You have your vision. You have your choices. You do that after you've learned about the current situation. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Then, this is important. You try to get alignment. People, culture, structure, processes, measures, rewards. It's pretty much applied systems thinking, even though it's not called system thinking or Kanban or any other fancy name. And then, execution. Jack, implement like hell. But also I should say, learn and experiment. And then you loop around here. So we did this, and we had some learnings. The process was very helpful. We had some kind of structure to cling on to, and we're used to that in Ericsson. We love sort of our processes. It helps us. But then we had too much focus on the implementation like hell part. So we got bogged into, action plans and implementation and stuff, and we totally forgot, the people and the culture and the experiments. So we sort of did not really utilize the full potential of this simple way of working with strategy. But anyway, we started, and we learned from it. Another experiment that we got from Willie Peterson and from 2010, we set up a wanted position, a quantified wanted position for 2015. Increased efficiency to enable more output by a factor 4, reduce the lead time to be more responsive by 50%, improve the quality, and build it into our ways of working by a factor 10, and then a measure on employee motivation and empowerment, 75%. This was a big thing for us. We didn't really have that before, and it was good to have this stable, balanced wanted position. And it was easy for us to show the progress, both internally and to our external stakeholders, by having this. So, we could get a lot of energy from showing that we make progress. We're taking small steps in the right direction. And that was very, very helpful to us by having this quantified vision or quantified long-term key performance indicators, or however you want to formulate it. And we had the focus and we had the clarity, and we didn't change it every year. It's been pretty stable, and we still use it now in 2015. I'll come back to that later in the presentation. Okay. I think some of you heard about this earlier today. The Art of Action, Stephen Bungay, the fireside chat with Simon Marcus and Arne Rook. So this is the alignment and autonomy thing. You want to have alignment and you want to have autonomy. It's not either or. That's a false dichotomy. You can have both by putting them on two axes like this. So what you really want is this. You want the thoughtful, purposive action in the right direction by all the people. And this is, even more important the bigger your organization is, to reach the desired results. So this was an insight for us back in 2011, and we tried to, use this, talk about this, how important this was. And this was almost before we started our lean and agile flow transformation journey. So this was more of a leadership and strategy kind of thing that we got from Stephen Bungay. So what did we learn from this? Well, as we heard before, this strong alignment on the what and why enables a lot of the autonomy for teams and individuals and even organizations to take actions and make decisions on all levels. And we were coming from a totally different angle than Spotify and Jim do. We did not have so much autonomy. So the big thing for us in Ericsson was to grant this autonomy while still keeping the alignment that we were sort of used to have. So this was very, very important insight for us. Another insight from 2011 regarding lead times from insights into action. We had this, you remember the wheel at the beginning, long feedback loops, years. So we did, this strategy update, March, May timeframe. Then September-ish, we made some, preliminary balanced scorecards with new key performance indicators every year. And then, we revised it, and we synchronized and aligned across the whole organization, and we had the final balanced scorecards, end of December. So what happens then? Well, a lot of focus on reporting status, and, corrective actions, those kind of things. Whereas, the world had potentially moved on. Were the targets still valid? I mean, our CEO sometimes talk about, the rate of change in the world will never be slower than today, meaning that, everything will move faster and faster. And of course, if we have these yearly planning cycles getting from strategy insights into action, in like 12, 18, 24 months, that's way too slow. Way too slow. So in this rapidly changing world, our learning was that we can't work like this. We need to stop this. The balanced scorecard, throw them away, do something else. And instead, we started doing regular strategy retrospectives. I think that's pretty similar to what Simon Marcus talked about earlier in the fireside chats. You have some kind of cadence in how you do things, some kind of rhythm. And, we want to deploy, we want to execute, we want to deliver and make our customers happy. We had the strategy retrospectives regularly, roughly quarterly, say. The input was the following. We had our long-term key performance indicators, the 10 times the quality, the 4 times the throughput, half the lead time, 75% motivated and empowered. The current business situation, a focus area, and continuous improvements activities that we've been doing. In taking that into, a strategy retrospective where we involve people in the whole organization into, working with this in teams and coming up with insights, from all parts of the organization. And the output then being a new focus area. I think Jimdo calls it goal number 1, but something to focus the whole organization, how everyone can contribute to make that happen, and sort of get the continuous improvements, the prototypes, the experiments somehow aligned in the same direction. That's the purpose. So the learnings from this was, of course, that it was good to have this positive reinforcement of the wanted position regularly. We reminded ourselves about it, creating even more focus and clarity on those, long-term KPIs that we were aiming for. And of course, seeing that the strategy actually did evolve based on input from the people and the engineers and the teams in our organization, and also, changing the focus area based on the current needs and based on what the engineers and the teams would see. So, another experiment from 2012 then. How did we do these strategy retrospectives? What we did initially was to do it totally bottom-up. We had the quarterly focus area. We said that we have a strategy, what are the needs, and we involved all the teams to come up with proposals. What would be our quarterly focus area? What would be our next quarterly focus area? Half a day, setting up teamwork exercises, and deciding that. That was pretty radical for being Ericsson. And we came up with this: radically improve the test flow. How can I and my team contribute? That was the quarterly focus area. That was the result of that half-day workshop involving everyone. Based on the strategy, based on the needs of the organization, that's what we came up with, bottom up. So the learnings here: a lot of engagement, 144 experiments, very, very good. But it was a bit hard for the teams to know what to do. And when they and we were done, when are we done with this focus area? Those were the learnings. So it wasn't optimal. It was a daring experiment, and we learned from it. Moving on then to 2013, then it was more of an involving top-down challenge. Some of you may have heard of push the form and pull the content that is sometimes used in the lean community. You sort of push down the form from higher parts or higher management, and then you pull the content on how to fulfill the wishes of upper management. And here the leadership teams of the product development unit, together with the leadership team of the business side of things, together worked, in a half-day exercise to iron out this challenge. And the challenge was every sprint delivered to a live network. Bit more sort of quantified, bit more easy to understand, and we and the leadership teams thought, well, this is pretty good. This should be easy to sort of create involvement and create engagement in, all the experiments that the teams could potentially do to meet this. And of course, there was a lot of experiments a lot of engagement in the half-day workshop where we kicked this off with the teams. So the clear expectations, helped even by some lightweight indicators that we could visualize how we were doing. Did we deliver a sprint with quality every 3 weeks to a live network? How did that work? That was, of course, very helpful. But then it was still not enough to get, real energy and real momentum towards the challenge and towards the long-term key performance indicators. So what did we do then? We tried something additionally. We had an enabling structure for the challenge. And what do I mean by that? Well, you have the challenge, every sprint delivered to a live network. Then we set up a few areas with, simple backlogs, prioritized backlogs, and a number of dedicated teams, because we were not getting the bigger improvements, the bigger experiments done. We could do small things up to, 40, 50 hours that the team could do in a week or two. But when it came to, 50-hour, 100-hour, bigger improvements, bigger experiments, it was very, very hard to make that happen. And by doing this, by having a prioritized backlogs in a few selected areas, and having dedicated teams with dedicated time to do that, that was very, very important to have this sort of enabling structure. And we also had something else introduced in 2013, actually, which was setting aside 30% for learning, doing improvements, doing prototypes, ways of working improvements, those kind of things. That was another important thing here. So our learning here was this alignment for autonomy. In our case, we really needed to add this enabling structure to get the larger improvements to happen, and presumably because we're a large organization. Another experiment from 2013, I told you about this lightweight method or way of working, the strategic learning method. We have tried this method called playing to win by Roger Martin and Lafley, used very much in big companies. And the beauty of this is, of course, that you get very much an outside-in view, starting from how do we win? How do we sort of win the hearts and minds of our customers in the marketplace? Based on that, we decide, we make choices where to play. Which playing field, which sport are we going to do? And based on that, when we know where to play, we made those choices, we go into how we're going to win the game. But it doesn't make sense to decide how do you win before you have come to the conclusion where to play. And when you know how to win, you realize that you need a few capabilities. Either you have them and you strengthen them, or you need to build them, or you need to buy them. So that's the key capabilities part. And finally, you need enabling structures, systems, metrics, those kind of things to make this happen. And of course, those of you who know Roger Martin, he's also into design thinking, so you can see some traces and influences here. I think this, for us, was a useful metaphor. It was easy to make something very abstract like strategy concrete, because people can relate to sports. Not all people like sports, by all means, but still, you can understand the language of sports. And you can understand the importance of making those kind of choices. And it's fractal, this kind of simple words and model for working with strategy. It works, on the enterprise level, on the business side of things, and it works even on an individual level. I have a friend who read the book and said, now I'm going to make a playing to win strategy for myself. And we've seen it on team levels, on section levels, program levels, project levels, so it's really, really useful. So, trying to wrap up and put everything together, 5 years of strategy experiments at Ericsson 3G on our lean, agile transformation journey. This is the big picture. This is the big picture. So, we want to have continuous improvements. We want to have experiments on ways of working and our product. The 30-70 rule, 30% of engineers' time should be spent on improving and learning. Get the momentum here, every day, every minute in the teams. But then we need this enabling structure, some kind of magnet helping things to happen and managing the scale of operations, the 1,800 people, 100 teams, 10 sites. You need some kind of enabling structure. And this can, of course, also change. It's not like it's written in stone, but it's more semi-permanent than the other stuff. We talked about the challenge, create the focus. It should be one and only one. Goal number one at Jimdo. Very, very important. And we do this quarterly. Maybe we don't do it during summer because, in Sweden, we take a lot of vacation, as Germany as well. So maybe it's 3 times a year. And then when it comes to, making those key choices, the playing to win model helps a lot in a simple lightweight structure, taking us outside in, starting with, the customers and the market, not as we often do in Ericsson, starting with, what can we do, what technologies do we have, what competence do we have, and then work our way from the inside out. And that is sort of a 2-year horizon. Of course, we can change it. We can change that strategy in the quarterly retrospectives, and we do. Then the vision, we have a vision, but we also have a quantified vision. So we want to have these long-term KPIs so we can see that we progress. Because, making progress as an individual or as an organization, that gives a lot of energy for making yet more progress. And some of you may have heard of the progress principle. It's making progress in meaningful work. That's the single biggest motivator in knowledge work. So pretty fundamental. So that is sort of the big picture, summarizing the strategy experiments that we have done so far. But of course, we'll continue. We'll do new things And what have we achieved? Just to give you some flavor, I mean, we talked about the ×4 value throughput, and we are roughly at ×4. Feature lead time from 100 weeks median to 36 weeks median. Faults at customers, we were at 250 from the field of our customers, roughly 1 per customer per month. Now we're down to 40. It's not 10, but almost. Employee motivation, we're not there yet, unfortunately. But we see some steps in the right direction. So these are sort of the proof points that the strategy work and the lean agile transformation journey is it's helping us moving in the right direction. And if you want to hear more, you can click on that presentation. We've done some stuff at other conferences on that if you want to, or you can talk to me afterwards in the Oktoberfest. I think that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Eric.